Yeah, well, the first thing that I wanted to share, because that's what people ask me all the time, is if gamification is playing games when you are in the classroom or in instruction, and that's not quite accurate. Digital game-based learning or game-based learning, depending on the format, is when you take an actual game and you bring it to instruction. You align the learning objectives for the class, and you bring a game to have some practice and to do some assessments. Game-based learning or digital game-based learning. Gamification, it's the art, and I will say the art because it's quite complicated to achieve it effectively, is when you borrow elements of games. You adopt certain features of the game to a non-gaming situation. So let's say that I want to motivate people in a training session that I'm doing, and I give them some rewards, some candy every time I ask a question and they answer correctly or they participate. I give them some candy. That reward system from a game is what we would call gamification.
Very interesting. So Skinner would be very happy with you, right? I mean, this is a whole reward and getting people to think about things through very positive reinforcement. And yeah. So Ashley, I know you've done some games, right? You've done gamification at some level.
Very, very low level gamification, yes, but I have some experience. Miko, I like the distinction that you provided in clarifying, what is gamification versus what is using a game to facilitate a learning experience. And so I think I've done a little bit of both in various aspects throughout my career. The game I would say I'm the most proud of is creating a citywide scavenger hunt for my family reunion, though.
So did Uncle Pete win? Uncle Pete always wins those.
Yeah, for us it was Uncle Gary.
It's always an uncle, right? Oh yeah, that's the dynamics of family reunions. That is so cool. Well, gosh. Well, Denise, you're writing a paper. So tell us about your paper.
Well, so the topic is really about how, whether or not, I should say, gamification can increase engagement in specifically an online environment, but also, in-person environment. And so our research is really, we're researching into what are the challenges of implementing gamification. Does it work? What are the limitations? Things of that sort. And also using it as an assessment, gamification as an assessment, if that's even possible. So we're sort of digging into that. And Miko, what is your take on how it increases engagement?
Yes, sometimes we want to pretend that learners always want to be there. And in some instances, they want to be there because they want to learn. But in some other instances, such as compliance, when you have to do some trainings for compliance, or you have to teach a gen ed, and they have to take it because they have to take it, they really basically have no choice around that. You're going to struggle with that motivation and that engagement. And in those instances, it's very hard to achieve that motivating internally the student. So those external rewards, those additional things that you can give them, can definitely start gaining the attention, start making them see things differently. That's why it works, because you use an external resource to actually start gaining the attention and to make them see things differently. One of the biggest components of gamifications for me is storytelling. And research has said that when people play games and they spend so many hours attached to that game, hours and hours, it's sometimes because of the story that is happening through the game. So let's say that you have a course that is very dry, that is very hard to understand, or that is compliance in nature. I think one of the best things that you can do is use case-based learning, role-playing. These are examples of gamification. Create a story that can make people see things in a different way, and also create stories that make the audience shocked. You rather have a shocked audience than a bored audience. And that's why gamification can really help you sometimes to move from the external motivator to the internal one, because you can create such a powerful story that even if they started just paying attention to the story because of the way it was engaging, at the end you can portray and convey why your course or your training experience is relevant. So it can really change the perspective in learning.